This guy escaped crucifixion, but he got a punishment that was worse than crucifixion. I think if he knew what was coming his way, he would have begged for them to crucify him. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm G. Stay if you like the content and share with your true crime buddies. So today we are going to be talking about the case of Hajit Mohammed. So this guy killed a lot of women. Hajit lived in a city in Morocco called Marrakech, which earned him the title of the Marrakech Arc Killer. To the rest of the city, Mohammed was this noble old guy who worked as a shoemaker, and he was like a big deal. He also wrote letters. So in the early 90s, people would come up to him and dictate their letters, and he'll write it down when they probably want to send it to different family members around the globe. Also, the city of Marrakech was one of the biggest hubs of trading in the entire continent of Africa at that time. So he had a lot of people coming in and out of his shop, coming in and out of the city. And in the year 1902, about 10 women went missing in the city, and this was really hard for the police to be able to grasp and have a hold on the situation, because most of the people were strangers who had come into the city and left, and the police began to think that maybe the women who had been kidnapped were kidnapped by traders who had gotten into the city, kidnapped them and left with them. The police kept working with that theory until 1906, when up to 36 women had disappeared and they still had no result. They had no idea who was committing all of these crimes, until one of the victims' family were super serious about their missing child, and they decided to take matters into their own hands. So they did their own investigation, and it led them to Mohammed's shop, and this was like the last place their daughter had been to. They decided to kidnap his assistant, a 70-year-old lady called Anna, and they tortured the living daylight out of her. She was tortured so bad, she confessed everything. She told them everything that he had been doing, and she actually died during the torture. With her confession, they were able to take that to the police and lead them to Mohammed's house. But in my mind, I'm like, wait, first of all, you're allowed to arrest or kidnap someone and torture them to the point where they are able to give you valuable information that you go and tell the police about it. And wait, the person dies. The police does not arrest you first for having committed murder, and they're just going to work on that information. But yeah, the police took the information and they went to Mohammed's house, got him arrested, and he too confessed to the murder. So this is what he did with all of those victims. Whenever a woman came to buy from his shop, he was going to be nice to them and be like, okay, would you like to have dinner with me? So they are going to have dinner at his house, and it'll be like a nice reception from probably a business partner. But while they're having the dinner, he's going to spike their drinks. When they are knocked out, he's going to search for their things, steal all the valuables. But after that, he's going to decapitate them and then go ahead to mutilate the body. The thing is, he already stole from them, so why kill them? Why go a step further? But maybe if they recovered from being, I don't know, knocked out, they were going to come back to him. But then now in these days, there's medications that you can give people and they're going to forget whatever happened to them. This was quite earlier on, so maybe at that time they did not have access to such high-tech chemicals to spike people's drinks with. But then if you have decided to kill them, why not kill them in a way that their body is still whole? The decapitation was just a step further, which goes to show his mental state, I think, at the time. And why were all of his victims women? But let's go back to the case. So when he was arrested and he explained everything to the police, they had to make a good example of him. Everyone was appalled by what he had done, because he had actually dug a pit at the bottom of his shop where they found 26 of those bodies, and 10 other bodies were found buried in the garden of his house. Yeah. And the crazy part is that each of the times that he stole was not like a significant amount of money. These are traders that probably bought other things, and whenever they got to him or he got to them, they did not have that large amount of money. It was just so sad to see how lives were wasted for a really trivial sum of money. After he was arrested, he was tried and found guilty and was sentenced to be crucified on the 2nd of May 1906. They wanted the entire public to know that this is not acceptable. This is not they're not going to have this in their city. But then there were a lot of foreign dignitaries that lived in the city. Like I said, it was the hub of trading, and they were like, this is too inhumane. They're not going to have this because of the foreign pressure on them not to do something so inhumane as crucifixion. I'm laughing because what they did was worse in the end, and I don't know. I feel like crucifixion should have been better than what they did to him. But yeah, they were like, we won't have this. So they decided to change his sentence from crucifixion to beheading. Yep, I'm just wondering how vastly different that was. But yeah, that was what was decided on it. But the public was still so upset. They were like, after all the women he has killed, they wanted him to suffer. So for the time being, while he was in prison, every blessed day he was walked from his cell to the market square and lashed 10 canes with a certain whip that had thorns on it that were about 7 to 20 centimeters long. They used those to give him 10 lashes every single day. After some time, they decided that just beheading this guy was not good enough, and they wanted to send a warning to everyone else that it's not okay because of how crazy his crimes were. They decided that they needed to punish him with something more than just beheading. So they decided that he was going to be walled up alive. Yep, walled up. On June 11, 1906, they had prepared a cell or whatever. They had prepared a cell on the wall that was about 2 feet deep and 6 foot tall. So he would be able to stand and just wide enough for him to be able to fit in, and part of it was left open. And on that day, they took him to the market square like it was the usual day. He actually thought he was going to get beaten or something, but then when he arrived and saw what was there, he began to scream and like try to fight his way out of it, and he was trying to like beg to get himself out of these, but there was no way for him. They had also prepared chains to make sure he would not be like able to fight his way out of it. So they dragged him to the wall that they had prepared for him. He was like, I think he was like halfway down, and when he was standing there, he was chained to it. People threw all sort of nasty things at him, trash from the markets. They just threw things at him and were screaming. And this is it. People had prepared supplies that they are going to stay there for the next 1 week, because in previous cases where people had been walled up, they stayed alive for up to a week, screaming and begging, and people stood outside listening to that. So the crowd had prepared their food, like bags of food, like they're going on a camping. That's exactly how they had prepared, because they had planned to stay outside there and watch him die for at least the next 1 week. The officers started laying up every brick until it was about to be at the end, and the chief officer felt really bad for him and threw in a piece of bread and some water until he was finally enclosed and in the wall in just this small space. And the crowds just stayed outside and kept silent. They were just like, okay, be quiet. And when he screams, they would cheer, like when there is a football game and someone scores and everyone cheers. Yep, that was exactly it. They would cheer and then keep silent, and when he screams, they would cheer again. And they did that all day, all night for 2 long days. By the 3rd day, he was barely making any sound. He was just moaning, and they kept cheering, and he ended up dying that day because he just went silent. And the crazy part is, everyone in the crowd, they were so upset, they were so mad that he had died too quickly, and they were so mad about it. They were expecting it to last for at least a week. The reason I think being walled up is worse than being crucified is the fact that when you're crucified, you're hanging there, people can see you, you're in pain, maybe you can talk to people, I don't know, confess your sins, but you can have the bright light, you can have air, you can breathe and everything. But walled up means you're in a dark, closed place, you can't breathe, and that's how he dies, because he suffocates soon when there is no air coming in. And the fact that you're in such a closed, dark place is just mentally torturing. For me, at least, I feel like it's more mentally torturing than being in physical pain. When you're in physical pain, I mean, everybody can see it, but your mind is at least free. But when it's a mental torture and all the scary things that you could think of being walled up there, it's just next level scary to me, which was why I said he received a fate that was worse than crucifixion. But what about you? Would you rather be crucified or walled up? I do know his crimes were really horrible, the beheading, the mutilating of people's bodies for meager coins that he's going to steal from them, and what he had taken from at least 36 families. He had taken a family member of theirs. It was horrible. But then again, it also goes to speak a lot about the people who stayed outside there cheering for someone, listening to someone die and listening to his last sounds, and it made them happy and so excited they had to cheer. It's just crazy. Somehow I feel like we are just the same, because we preach that no one should be able to take a life, and then we still have capital punishment and death sentences and things like that. It's still the act of humans playing God and taking the life of someone from them, which I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this case? It was just really insane to me when I first heard about it on a TikTok video. I was like, how could someone be walled up alive? And it literally happened to this guy. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and be the best version of yourself, because changing the world starts with you. And see you tomorrow with another video just like this. Remember to subscribe and check out this playlist for some of the most brutal crimes ever committed.